Hello and welcome to the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast. I'm your host, Clint Campbell, and you're listening to episode number 93, brought to you by Wicked Tree Gear. Today is part 8 of the DIY Report Daily Rut Log, so stay tuned. All right. What is up, everyone? What day is this? Happy Saturday to you if you're listening to this on the day that that this comes out. I've been afield for so long at this point that I've kind of lost track of what day it is. It's been going on 2 weeks. I think on Tuesday it'll be 2 weeks total officially that I've been kind of in the timber or in a tree stand all day sits. So I'm a little worse for wear. Look pretty terrible. Mind is probably starting to go at this point a little bit, and I have at least one more day here in Ohio, so Saturday's probably the last day. At least that's what it's scheduled to be. Depending on how things unfold, I may squeak another day out and stay till Sunday because I'm actually off from work on Monday for the Veterans Day holiday. So I might stay an extra day, and if anything, or I guess if what I had seen today in the stand is any indication, if the next couple days kind of play out similarly, or tomorrow plays out similarly, then I may find myself in Ohio for at least an extra day. So this morning I'll just kind of get right to it and give you the update. So right now I'm flying solo. So Tate took off, went back home. Today this was the end of his trip. Chad actually had some business to tend to in Columbus, I believe, and so he was there for the day. So I've been kind of flying solo for the past day, and this morning started with some terrible illness, I guess you could say. I'll leave it at it won't get too graphic, but I'll leave it as having a stomach issue at 4:00 in the morning. So that was less than pleasant, and then of course it was kind of rainy this morning and cold. The rain was pretty bad early on, and I had looked at the radar last night, or on, I guess it was Thursday night, and was just kind of checking out. And I knew that the rain was going to be kind of heavy early in the morning, so my plan was really to kind of sleep in a little bit until the heaviest part of the rain kind of had passed, and it was supposed to, I think, originally pass through like 8 a.m. I think it was supposed to start lightening up a little bit. And I think the rain was supposed to stop totally by like 10. That was the original forecast that I had looked at. And so my plan was like, all right, I'll get up and just kind of, get some breakfast, have a nice, easy kind of slow morning. And then when it's raining really hard like that, I typically won't hunt in that. I will hunt in rain, but I'm just not going to hunt in a downpour. And so what I'll like to do is, as it's starting to slow down, maybe an hour before it stops, is I like to slip in while it's still raining a little bit, get into a tree. That way, as soon as it's done raining, a lot of times deer will start moving, especially if you go from a downpour, some heavy rain into no rain. Typically, you'll see some movement right after that. So that was kind of my game plan for today. So 4:00 rolls around, woke up with some stomach issues, which was not fun. Looked at the forecast again, and now it had pushed out to like noon. That the rain was still going to be kind of not so great. And then, so I got on my computer, did a little bit of work, caught up on a few things, looked at the forecast again. Now it was pushed out till 1. And then I looked at it again. It was pushed out till 2. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me. So my plan was, I was like, well, as soon as it gets light enough, that where it's not a complete downpour or whatever, I'll slip into the tree at that point. So, but I wanted to be kind of ready to go. So I got all my stuff ready, I guess a little after 11, headed out to the spot. And my plan was just to kind of, honestly, it's very unexciting, but was going to just take a nap in the truck at the ridge that I'm hunting, and just kind of and wait for the rain to slow down to a point to where I could get out, get dressed, and get up into my tree. So that's what I did. I went and I sat at the base of the ridge in my truck, took a little nap. As soon as the rain lightened up, got dressed, hit the mountain or hit the ridge for the afternoon hunt, and really wasn't sure what I was going to see. The scrape that was behind where I'm hunting or in that area was tended to the other day, like I mentioned on yesterday's show. I don't believe it was tended to last night, and I was not sure, not being there in the morning. It's like, I'm not sure if, the doe families made it back into that doe bedding area. So I wasn't really sure what I was walking into. So I'll hop up in the tree. It's pretty chilly, it was, I think in the mid 30s. I think is what I looked at when I hopped out of the truck, and got into my tree. Had a nice sit. That wasn't windy at all, which was great. Couldn't hear anything, of course, because it's the forest floor was wet, and there was just a little bit of wind that was kicking up. Not anything too terrible, but enough that you could hear some leaves rustling and stuff like that. So it made for a sit where you're really having to kind of pay attention visually, because you certainly weren't going to hear anything that was coming up on you. So that was what my plan was just to really kind of be observant as possible. And my hope was that maybe that with all the rain and stuff that we had last night and into the early part of the day, that it kept the deer kind of bedded down or hunkered down, if you will, and that now that the rain had stopped, they'll take the first opportunity to get up and get on their feet, maybe start feeding, browsing, and especially if there's a doe family around, or if they were made it into that doe bedding area, that they would be, pop out near me somewhere. And then, of course, this time of year, you want to be around the does, because where the does are, bucks are usually pretty close to follow. So hop up in the tree, didn't see any does, for the duration of the night. But what I did see was a deer that I did not have on camera. It was about 3 o'clock, and a hammer 8 walked through, and I got pretty excited, not gonna lie. It was a big deer. I don't want to venture a guess to what he would score. Just to give you a frame of reference, the 10 point that I killed out here 2 years ago, scored, he was Pope and Young, and this deer was as big, probably a little bit bigger, 8 point. Super tall, pretty wide, not terribly wide, super long tines, and just really, really heavy. Really pretty deer. He rolled in, and I just kind of happened to spy him off to my right, and he was just kind of working his way down this one trail, and he was nose to the ground, kind of sniffing. He wasn't in a hurry anywhere. I think he was just trying to see if there was any recent activity that he could kind of get on the trail of to make a move, and he just didn't come quite close enough. He was about 25 yards. There was just a lot of stuff between he and I. There was no shot opportunities. There was no shooting lane or shooting window, in that direction. I let him get down into the brush a little ways where I could still see him. But there was plenty of breakup between he and I. I gave him a little grunt to see if I could get him to respond, to come in, and it grabbed his attention. He perked up real quick. And for a second there, when he postured up, I thought, it might be game time, that he might be a player, want to come in and try to do a little fighting. But he was not. He was a lover, not a fighter, which was better for him, bad for me. So he ended up just kind of turning and walking back the way he came. Not startled, tail was still down. He wasn't, tail wasn't up on alert. He wasn't, ears were back. I feel like, I know I have a big deer on camera in there, bigger, fairly bigger than him. And I feel, well, 2 of them actually. And I feel like one of those 2, or maybe both of them, I don't know, kind of rule the roost up there, because I'm not having any of these, younger bucks. When I say younger bucks, it's like, he was probably a 3.5-year-old is what I'm guessing from what I got to see. But I feel like, one of those other 2 bigger deer are clearly, 4.5, the one maybe even 5. I feel like they rule the roost, in that some of these, younger bucks, 3.5-year-olds and so forth, just know their place and aren't necessarily willing to challenge. Which makes it really hard to kind of get them out of the brush, because this is the area that they always want to kind of hang out in. And it's challenging, because you don't want to move from the area, because it's like, just, I'm seeing deer every day. I'm seeing bucks, I'm seeing activity. So there's no reason for me to move. It's just, there's not a lot of shooting opportunities. It's just that they have to follow the script, and there's really only 3 scripts that they could follow, and with that, the shooting windows are super tight, and so they could follow 90% of the script, and you still don't have anything to get a shot with. So I'm hesitant to move, but I've been kind of scoping a couple trees around here, because the way I set this up was I brought 3 kind of hunting apparatus, hunting stands, saddles, etc. with me. I have, my Lone Wolf climber, and I have a Lone Wolf stand and sticks, and of course I have my tethered tree saddle, right? So in this tree I've hunted out of in the past in this area, and so and my climber works in it, and it's of course comfortable. Has more seat on it, so it doesn't have the big clunky seat on it. So it's light and it's comfy. So I know that that stand works in that tree. So I put that stand in that tree. That way the idea was that, well, then I'll have sticks in a stand and sticks in a saddle if I need to make a move and set up another stand to have a couple different spots to go to. But the reality is that I was in the action from day one, so there was no need for me to set something else up. Now, with that being said, watching what I'm seeing on camera and how these deer are kind of moving through this area, I've been kind of scoping some other trees, and there's just honestly, the trees are so small and it's so thick that there's really not a great place to get into. And so today, after I saw that deer, if I would have been able to find a tree that was, if I were sitting in the stand, if it were to my back and to my left, I guess that would be west-ish. If I could get into a tree over there, I probably would have killed that 8-point tonight. And so I just wasn't sure that there were sizable enough trees for me to really even get into. So tonight, after I saw that 8, I got down with just a little bit of light left and went over and kind of assessed the situation to see if I could get into a tree there, because that big deer that I have on camera, he's rolling through that area on camera. I don't know how he's getting there, though. And there's a couple vertical trails that come up and connect with this parallel trail that bring you out of the bedding area into like the top of the ridge that then runs, east and west on the top of the ridge. And that's how they're getting to this trail and getting in front of the camera that I have set up. So my idea was like, well, if I can get over there, at least kind of get on the same plane, if you will, as where I had the camera hung, because that's where I know the deer are at least making it to at some point. Maybe then I'll get a shot opportunity. And I would have had one tonight if I'd just made that move a day earlier. So, shame on me for not, making a move whenever I had the idea 2 days ago. But so nonetheless, I went over, checked it out. I did find one tree that I think I can get into. It's not a very big tree. It's probably about big as round as one of those like small miniature basketballs, those kids basketballs. It's probably all the bigger round it is, which is, plenty big enough for me to get the tree saddle into, and a couple sticks. I won't have to get too terribly high. I'm thinking probably 3 sticks, because I'm basically going to climb until I have a shooting lane. And once I have a shooting lane to those couple trails, then that's where I'm going to stop. So whether it's 2 sticks, 3 sticks, whatever the case might be, that's as far as I'm going to climb. There's plenty of break up there, so nothing's going to see me until it's too late, if I have a shot opportunity. And if I don't have a shot opportunity, they definitely won't see me because they're going to be in brush. So that's the game plan for tomorrow, is to make a switch of location. The weather's going to be cold. It's supposed to, I think the low tonight is 23. I think tomorrow when I get out into the timber and start my way into the woods, it'll be, I think, 25 degrees, a balmy 25, and I think the high is supposed to be 35, with winds topping out at about 18 miles per hour. So it's going to be a really ripping cold day tomorrow. Gonna have to layer up and hopefully stay warm, because with the rain today and just the action I was seeing the day before, if the rain subdued them at all today, it should be popping tomorrow, especially with the cold weather. So that's at least what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping one of those big deer make a mistake and walk through that one little lane. I'm gonna make a move to another tree, and hopefully it pays dividends. And I will certainly give you guys an update after the hunt. It probably won't come out till probably Monday-ish, because I'll likely be traveling tomorrow. If tomorrow is indeed my last day, I'll be traveling back home. So there'll be one more Rut Log episode after this, and then that will conclude this DIY report mini-series. And so with that, I'll be talking to you all tomorrow. All right, folks, that is a wrap for today's show. We'd like to thank all of you for listening, and if you haven't yet, please head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating. Also, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We'd be super appreciative if you'd be able to do those 2 things for us. And before we shut this thing down, I need to give a big shout out to our partners that continue to help us make this podcast possible. Wicked Tree Gear, Exodus Outdoor Gear, Trophy Ridge, Ozonics, Obsession Bows, Tecomate Seed, Glacier Coolers, Ramcat Broadheads, Trophy Taker Rests, and Dead Downwind. And until next time, we'll see y'all.
November's on my heels, makes me proud, makes me steal. I could show you through the door, I ain't welcome anymore. A long time coming, if it all, it takes a special knowing to call a fall. damaged heads, broken letters. Rationalize yourself in numbers, but I